New tonight, Southwest Michigan has long been known as one of the few fruit belts in the U.S. for its unique climate that allows for various types of crops to grow. It's created a robust agriculture industry in the region, but it hasn't been immune to the impacts of the pandemic.
Yeah, ABC 57's Roxy Elliott takes a closer look.
Peaches, apples, pears, and all types of berries can be grown here in Southwest Michigan because of the quality of its soil, its elevation, and proximity to Lake Michigan, plus the economic benefit of being so close to the Chicago market. But supply chain disruptions, labor shortages, and the lack of those farmers markets have created some serious obstacles for these local business owners in keeping their farms alive this year. Spring is the time farmers in Southwest Michigan can start to picture the fruits of their labor. By March, weather permitting, their crops are in good condition and right on track for an early May bloom. But there was no way to prepare for how the first weeks of a pandemic and food shortages would impact their supply.
Everything shut down, and the store managers call and be like, double my order.
Mike Hildebrand says the start of the pandemic brought a business boom for his Berrien Springs farm.
Our packing shed and shipping levels went to like fall packing levels. We were full-time as fast as we could.
But as those 2 weeks to flatten the curve turned into a month-long shutdown, all that product suddenly risked going to waste. Schuler Dairy Farm has been in this Baroda location for over 100 years. Today, they use a robotic milker that their 60 cows can use on their own 24/7. It's done wonders for how quickly they can prepare the milk, but then they lost that demand from their biggest revenue source.
5 years ago, we were getting $26 for every 100 pounds of milk we could sell. Last June, we got $11.50. The price of milk hasn't been all that great the last 5 years, but when COVID hit, we lost the schools and restaurants. That was additional loss of 30% of the market. That was kind of the knife in the heart for a lot of dairy farmers.
Luckily, a century of business has fostered a sense of resiliency for the Schuler family. But for new farmers, Paul and Shelley Mullimans, they had to consider if their passion project would be able to withstand the year.
There was that time when things were really, dialing back. We had, a lot of money sitting out there. I was very, very nervous.
Fast forward to May 2020 and farmers market season is up in the air. Something that could have been detrimental for the Mullimans' 4-year-old Wild Coyote farm in Berrien Springs. A plethora of greens, root, and stem vegetables all sitting out on the field, but then a light bulb went off that farmers too could jump on the e-commerce train.
We partnered with a program that's called Harvey, and it's online, and what it allows people to do is customize their produce every week. So we were able to go there in 2 weeks. We were able to sell quite a few boxes.
Grainer Farm in Three Oaks also expanding on their direct access to clients this year with community-supported agriculture, a program where their Southwest Michigan and Chicago clientele can opt in for weekly pickup of whatever's in season at the farm. 2020 being a year like no other for that farm-to-fork access.
A couple years ago, I think it took us maybe, let's call it 3 months to sell out our CSA, which was 100 members. This year, when we opened this registration, I think it took us about 3 hours.
But there were still factors the farmers had no control over. Labor shortages caused by the pandemic.
I was looking for a truck driver. Luckily, I found one. He had never driven truck before. He reached out and he said, "How do I get my CDL?" I said, "Come work for me and I'll pay for it."
That trickling down to supply chain delays, creating obstacles for Southwest Michigan's wine country. Round Barn in Baroda and Taper Hill in Buchanan still recovering from the impact past winters have had on their grapes.
Making sure that the bottles are coming in on time and labels, etc., packaging has been slightly held up. It's one more thing to have to deal with in this last year of craziness.
All of these impacts were felt not only here in Southwest Michigan, but magnified when you look at the country as a whole. And those shocks to the supply chain were not only felt by the farmers.
It also affected the transportation systems, the retailing systems, the companies that manufacture products. For example, let's just take corn. Companies that crush the corn and make corn oil out of it or corn starch. Those companies had to adjust, and they had to adjust really quickly. This was something that pretty much shut down the economy hard and fast.
Various agriculture groups came together for a study called Feeding the Economy, looking at how agriculture jobs, exports, and spending contribute to the U.S. fiscally. Their findings for 2020, the industry accounts for 40 million U.S. jobs, $2 trillion in wages, and $155 billion in exports. In Michigan alone, over 1 million people work in the agriculture industry, with those jobs supporting $17 billion in taxes for the state. These groups hoping their study is a reminder of how vital the industry is to our national and global economy and shows those local farmers that better days are ahead.
Prices are on the rise. We've also been able to keep our exports flowing. There's been some tightness in supply of shipping and rail because of that demand. The food and agriculture sector, I think, is one of the more resilient sectors in the U.S. economy.